I'd like to welcome everyone to our special council meeting for the purpose of discussing Ordinance 11022 and Resolution 11122. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Clerk, could you please take the roll call?
Eads.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Hayes.
Present.
Hitt.
Here.
Stahl.
Present.
Smith.
Here.
Okay. Everyone's here this evening. We do have a quorum. All right. On to our audience concerns. And when I call your name, if you can please come to the podium and state your name, your address, and you have 5 minutes, please. So we'll start with Stacy Patterson.
Hello, Stacy Patterson, 1082 Exeter Court. My concern is I'm really concerned about this ordinance and resolution being pushed towards the ballot. I think it's being completely rushed. I think there needs to be more information provided to the public, more specifics. I feel like there's other issues that should be addressed prior. Honestly, I think the combination of the three departments in the city being thrown into 1.5% is like we're combining departments that really aren't a priority. If Parks and Rec isn't funded, that's not a city stoppage. I feel like Parks and Rec are being included in this because they are funded in the general fund, and any money that goes in there essentially can be allocated to any department that the city sees fit at that point. I know my experience with Parks and Rec, considering I have 3 kids, there's no program that Parks and Rec offers that's going to benefit my kids. We don't do anything in the community center anymore. They've basically aged out of the department at that point. The only thing that we've ever tried to do since they've aged out would be to like purchase a pool pass, and I literally had to come to this building 3 times to find someone to sell me a pool pass. There's people in the office, but they don't know how to do it. They constantly have to look for Tammy. So I don't understand funding a department that basically is inefficiently run where we stand. And when it comes to like the fire and EMS needing more money, I really think that needs to be a separated issue. I think the city was rash in combining into absorbing that department without truly investigating all of the costs and stuff, especially since I'm a person who pays taxes outside of the city, and I've now had 0.5% already taken from me, which my understanding is that also is helping fund the EMS. I just really feel like we need to stop and really address our departments. Because ultimately, reading in the Madison Messenger that we allowed the department 3 years to figure out if they needed more money, then I think this resolution should get the same 3 years if you need another 0.5%. I think it needs to be more organized, and we need to truly know where that money is going to, what other programs, how much it's going to cost the citizens to use, what we're going to get out of it other than just buildings and then money that we're collecting for future that's never going to end. I just am I'm very disheartened to think that we're just going to constantly ask for money. On top of the fact that this has got to be the worst possible time to ask for money. I mean, you're dealing with the cost of everything going up, people losing their jobs. I mean, half the businesses in this town aren't even fully employed. I just think we just need a little bit extra time and more consideration towards the citizens when we're constantly going to be reaching into their pocketbook. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Anita Likens.
Thank you all. Anita Likens, 157 East 1st Street here in London. And this is a continuation of my civility comments. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing 5 minutes. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "In question of power, then, let no one have herd of confidence in man, but bind him down for mischief by the chains of the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States, and I'll begin to read it. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, to ordain and to establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Section 2. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of these several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained to the age of 25 years and have been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. We've come a long way, haven't we, gentlemen? The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such manner as they shall live by law direct. The number of representatives shall not exceed 1 for every 30,000, but each state shall have at least 1 representative, and until such enumeration shall be made, the state of New Hampshire shall be entitled to choose 3, Massachusetts 8, Rhode Island and Providence Plantations 1, Connecticut 5, New York 6, New Jersey 4, Pennsylvania 8, Delaware 1, Maryland 6, Virginia 10, North Carolina 5, and South Carolina 5, and Georgia 3. When vacancies happen to the representation from any state, the executive authority thereof shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. The House of Representatives shall choose their speaker and other officers, and shall have the sole power of impeachment. Section 3. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof, for 6 years, and each senator will have 1 vote. Immediately after they shall be assembled in consequence of the first election, they shall be divided as equally as may be into 3 classes. The seats of the senators of the first class shall be vacated at the expiration of the second year, of the second class at the expiration of the 4th year, and the third class at the expiration of the 6th year, so that 1/3 may be chosen every second year. If vacancies happen to be resignation, during that time the executive thereon may make temporary appointments until the next meeting of the legislature, which shall then fill such vacancies. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained to the age of 30 years and been 9 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, sorry, I thought you bumped me there, who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state for which he shall have been chosen. The Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be equally divided. The Senate shall choose their other officers and also a President pro tem in the absence of the Vice President, or when he shall exercise the office of the President of the United States. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on an oath of affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States, but the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to the law. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next we have Michael Norman.
Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Michael W. Norman. I live at 188 South Oak Street here in the great city of London, Ohio. I'm here tonight to make a request. Might seem a little weird to you guys because of the email I sent to you, but hear me out and hopefully we'll come around and get to the same place. My request is that you actually pass both these two pieces of legislation tonight. Honestly, I don't know how I'm going to vote for this, yes or no. Right now, to be honest, I feel more towards the no because I have questions. Obviously, we have a lot of questions that haven't been answered, but I've been to the last two meetings, and the mayor and administration have committed to setting up some town hall meetings to answer those questions, and I think we should give them that opportunity. But more so, my concern is that I think we need to understand what we're voting for tonight. Council is not voting to fund the fire department. Council is not voting to fund a new police department or a community center. What council is basically doing is doing a transfer of power with this vote. You're taking the power from you seven and you're transferring it to me as a citizen. And you're giving me a chance to go to the town hall meetings, get the answers I need, and then the most important part is you're giving me a chance to, the first Tuesday in May, to go in and place my vote. And then that will give you my decision on how I feel about this issue. I feel that to not pass this is basically telling me as a citizen that you don't trust that I can make that decision on my own. And that is a concern for me. So what I'm asking you to do is to pass this legislation, both so that passes the decision-making power unto me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have, I think it's Deb Dowler.
I don't think she knew what she was signing up for.
Okay. And just state your name and
Dowler.
address, and you have
Yeah.
5 minutes. Thank you.
Phil Dowler, 2
Okay.
Laurel Street,
Oh,
London.
gotcha.
Haven't been back in town very long, so I'm not really up on all these millions of dollars you guys are talking about. But I just kind of look at it on a simple approach. I look at the city of London as an older car. I also look at that older car with a transmission that's ready to go out, meaning sewers and water conditions. Our neighborhood, not far from us, flooding basements when they get a good hard rain, boil alerts that I'm hearing about. We've had cloudy water called, and they said that the water purifying system, you were waiting on parts for your softener or something, whatever. I'm just looking at it as, okay, you guys are talking about a big chunk of money, which would mean that you're going to put a set of nice shiny wheels on this old car. I think we need to fix the infrastructure before we make some huge investments in what you want to spend $88 million for a rec center and what have you. That's just what I got to say. That's it.
All right, thank you. All right, we have Brent McDaniels. And say your name, address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
Brent McDaniels, 1051 Amherst Boulevard, London. Okay, when the London income tax went from 1 to 1.5% in 2013, it was to be directed to the London Fire Department for operations and improvements. There was also a credit of 0.5% for those of us who are not fortunate enough to live and work in London, but now that credit is gone. In May of 2017, Mayor Closser was quoted in the Madison Messenger that no process had been started to withdraw from the Madison County Emergency Medical District. In July 2018, an article in the Madison Messenger, Mayor Closser stated that the city could provide better coverage and at a lower cost. In September 2018, City Council voted to withdraw from the Emergency Medical District, and the taxpayers did not get to vote on it. The mayor told people that the fire department could run for 3 years, and in that time, he would have a better understanding of how much money is needed. Some of us in this room run our own business and know it doesn't take 3 years to figure these things out. So you've had 3 years and you have not figured out anything other than to raise our taxes again. For the third time in less than 10 years, you are also asking us to pass something that will never go away. The mayor manufactured the fire department funding problem, but wants the taxpayers to bear the burden. By putting this tax increase on the ballot, City Council is only enabling the mayor's reckless behavior. And last week, Mr. Hayes compared a $10 million police station to buying a $3 loaf of bread. But what he fails to realize is we have to eat, but we don't have to have a $10 million police station. There's a big difference between needing and wanting. We need to fix our terrible water, sewage, and flooding problems. We can do better than this. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Joanne Gray.
My name is Joanne Gray, and I live at 27 Arlington Avenue. Flooding issues are bad. We bought our house 27 years ago. We had a tree out in front. And that caused a lot of flooding around our basement, the tiles around the basement. So we had the tree removed. We haven't had any flooding until recently, like last year. I ended up spending $2,500. $500 for a new water heater, $200 to have it installed, and then over $1,000 to have my furnace and AC repaired. I can't keep doing this every year. This is expensive, and flooding my basement is getting ridiculous. Second thing I want to know, we had put money aside for the storm sewers. $200,000 is gone of that money. It got used to pay back somebody who gave us COVID-19 funds. $200,000 of our money that the city took and paid back somebody. And Andrea has all this in writing. I've seen it. So what I want to know is when the city's going to pay back the $200,000 and when we're going to start getting our flooding issues fixed. We need to be able to look into our sewers and find out exactly what the issue is, where the issue is, and how much it's going to cost to fix it. Now, I don't know if you guys can answer that or if I have to go to Safety Services meeting tomorrow, but we're really just basically screwed. Because Westmore has never had an issue with flooding until recently. And this time, it took us all. I don't know if you had your basement flooded or not. I know people a couple doors down from you did.
I did not. Ma'am, my son who lives 3 doors from you, he did.
Yeah, it's bad. It is absolutely horrible. I've never had a flooded basement. I can't afford to spend $2,000 a year to keep this up. That's a little expensive on a homeowner who lives on disability. My husband is disabled, and he has COPD, so he will be passing soon. And then that's all left on me. And I don't have near the funds I have right now. I won't have. And I really don't want to sell my house. But if that's what happens, that's what I'm going to have to do. And I'll be moving out of London, which I really don't want to do. This has been my home for 30 years. So, like I said, we need to fix this sewer system. more than we need a new police department or a new rec center. We had a new rec center. We had the armory, which my kids did basketball and stuff in before the armory got sold to Mandy's daycare. So now we don't have that. And they're yelling about the current thing right now falling apart, community center. I would like to see a comparison of what it would cost to rebuild it versus replacing it. The same with this police department. I want to see a comparison of replacing and expanding the police department versus building a new one. And that doesn't seem like much to ask compared to the sewer issues, but sewer issues they're going to have to be fixed faster than building a new police station. Because $2,000 is ridiculous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Rick, do you have anything to add with the street dollars?
The storm sewer funds are concerned, I'm not sure what she's talking about. Those funds are designated funds for storm sewer only, so it would be, we legally can't use those monies for anything else, so I don't know where that came from. There's currently, we collect that with the water bill, and we take on projects. We try to get grants, and we try to use matching funds out of that to make a more bang for our buck with those, and we've been, I think they pretty much, Bill's not here, I think they've done pretty much a project or two a year to try to stay ahead of things. Some things the street department can do on their own, some things we have to contract out, and we use grant money to do that with. That's about all I can put on that. I will attest, I lived on Westmore for over 35 years, and my basement flooded continuously years ago. I had to rip out drywall, had to replace carpeting, until I finally had a person come in and fix my sewer line that come in, put a backflow valve in, and it stopped my problem. I don't know if that'll fix everybody's problem, but that's what I did. And as far as I know, we've not had any, or that house hasn't had any flooding since then. But that issue's been going on for 30 years or more.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes. And just state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name's Rob Newman. I live at 22 Richmond Avenue. First of all, I want to thank all the council members and the mayor and your commitment to the city, because sometimes it's a thankless job. I've been involved in that, and I know it's a thankless job sometimes, but we appreciate you guiding the city into better things to come. So I want to publicly state that. I'm going to jump ahead a couple hurdles, I'm going to say. I'm assuming this ballot vote is going to be placed on the issue and filed by tomorrow morning. That's my assumption. And there will be a series of open houses and public meetings and so forth. But I just want to make sure, if this does pass, that Mr. Castle stated last week, I asked him what the projections on the revenue would be, and I think he said it was $2.3 million. And that will pay for your debt service and the other items that you're talking about. So that's a financial ability to pay for the debt that we would incur and pass along to the fire department. But when you issue debt, there's 2 types of debt. There's voted debt, which was gone to the ballot and got the approval of the voters to, if we can't pay that debt, what we will do is the voters are saying that we have the ability to levy a property tax to pay that debt off. That's one type of debt. That's voted debt. The other type is unvoted debt, where we have the ability as a municipality to issue that debt. But both of those types of debt has limitations per the Ohio Revised Code. And there's millage requirements. There's two different types. There's direct debt, which looks at the amount of voted debt, which I assume that we will be not issuing, and unvoted debt. Well, there's millage requirements. We can't issue an amount above, it looks at our assessed property values. But then there's an indirect debt, saying that the city cannot issue, and other jurisdictions that shares the city boundaries, such as the library and the school system, that we cannot exceed 10 mils. Now, I'm assuming that, say this ballot goes on, and it's passed, I'm assuming that we have the legal ability to incur that type of debt that we're talking to. And I'm just hoping that analysis was done. Because it wouldn't be very good if we went to the ballot and approved it, and we would go in and start to issue debt, and we cannot do so because our limitations has been exceeded. Now, I stated last week that I was fortunate to work for the city of Columbus for 38 years. And we had to check each time we would go to the issue debt, make sure that we're not exceeding these legal debt requirements. So I'm just jumping ahead, and I'm assuming that due diligence was done, because I trust the people who are trying to put this on the ballot and the ramifications later on if we don't have these legal abilities to do so. So that was one thing. I assume, Mr. Castle stated last week when I asked the question, who's our bond counsel? He said Baird and Associates, I believe. But I believe that's a financial advisor. I would assume that's our financial advisor who assists us in these endeavors. Bond counsel, I thought was Bricker and Eckler at one time that helped us. I'm just asking. But, through him, he's worked with the bond. Right, but to have a bond counsel, they have to have a legal opinion saying that all the requirements were done. And I assume that I worked for years with Bricker and Eckler, so I'm assuming that who would be the bond counsel in addition. So I just wanted to state that for the record. And then I'm going to ask in my remaining time my plea for the infrastructure. Again, Mr. Castle stated that some of those funds are earmarked and restricted, and he's absolutely right. But you can take funds from the general fund and help issue debt to address these other issues. So you can't use those restricted funds, and the city of Columbus did that for a number of times, where we didn't raise our stormwater fees, but we backed our debt with non-enterprise funding, which is basically general fund. So I just wanted to point that out. I believe that you guys will have the same passion, I know the mayor does, of fixing these problems of the infrastructure, because I'm begging you, because I've experienced 3 flooded basements, 3 furnaces, 3 hot water tanks. I finally put in a backflow preventer, and I'm very fortunate to the ability to address those issues, but I know that some people in town don't have that ability, and I'm just begging you at some point in time. It's not going to be repairs to the system. It's going to be renovations to the system. And I know that I was involved in it. It's going to cost tens of millions of dollars to do that. And by doing so, we're going to have to issue debt for that purpose. I respect each and every one of you, and I believe the passion is there, and I believe in you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank all the audience for their concerns and comments. We do hear you, and I'm glad that you're here to speak up, so we know better which way to go with this. And I just want to say too that even once this would go on a ballot, if that's what we vote here, or they vote, because I cannot vote unless there's a tie, but just want to make sure that it is on there crystal clear. We want to make sure there's transparency in the language that's used on the ballot, so everyone knows exactly what they're voting for. Also, too, I would hope that the town hall meetings that are scheduled are going to be very informative, and I would love for everyone to, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, and please come to those, because I think that there should have been lots of town hall meetings before we even got to this point. Definitely, wouldn't want to rush anything, especially with the dollar amount as high as what we're looking at, because it's not our money, it's the community's money, it's the money that you generate. So we want to make sure that we're being really good stewards of that money. All right, so on to our old business. Third reading, ordinance 11022, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, clerk, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 11022, sponsored by Rich Hayes, an ordinance to increase the municipal income tax by 0.5% per annum for a continuing period of time for the purposes of providing funds to pay costs of acquiring, constructing, furnishing, equipping, improving, maintaining, and repairing municipal recreational facilities, municipal fire department facilities, and municipal police department facilities owned by the City of London, to pay general operating expenses related to municipal recreational facilities of the fire department and of the police department, and to pay any expenses and debt service charges for debt incurred in connection therewith, of which increase not more than 0.25% per annum shall be used for the purposes of providing funds to pay costs of acquiring, constructing, furnishing, equipping, improving, maintaining, and repairing municipal fire department facilities, to pay general operating expenses of the fire department, and to pay any expenses and debt service charges for debt incurred in connection therewith, authorizing the question of such increase to be placed on the ballot at the election to be held on May 3rd, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This is a lot of opinions on this. I respect all of your opinions. I want to go back a couple things. First of all, I want to make clear that we're not, the only thing we're doing here, if we approve this tonight, is approving it to put it on the ballot so that you can vote for it or against it. That's all we're doing here tonight. We're not spending any money. We're not anything like that. This is going to go, the only thing we're approving is to get it on the ballot tonight so you have a chance to make your voice heard. A lot of good arguments. I feel like that there's so many things that need to be done, and I believe, as I read before, the sewer system and things, the repairs are being made there. It's kind of like a car. You have a car, it starts getting problems with it, you have to repair it. It's kind of an ongoing situation. Why things haven't been done back years ago, I don't know. I've been on council starting my 5th year, and we're just getting, a lot of things are coming to us now. We've got an older city here, a lot of things that need to be addressed, and we will get those things addressed. There's a lot of funding that we can do. There's a lot of federal grants that we can apply for. And that's why we have a lot of people, why do you do so much emergency legislation? Well, it's because these grants that come up and come available, you get a certain amount of time to get those grants. You may get a 10-day period for it or a 2-week period for it. And that's why we have to, if we want that grant, that's why we have to pass this emergency legislation so we can get it out there. And if we had to read it 3 times, like we did with this, and then it would have been another 30 days on top of that, we wouldn't be in line for it. We would lose it. So I do believe we need a new police department. The building down there is falling apart. I'm ashamed of that building. I'm ashamed of a lot of the buildings here in town, not only that one. There's a lot that needs to be done. But I think that we have to at least approach it and see what the public says. We've got, how many officers do we have, Chief, right now? 19?
Yes.
19 officers plus yourself?
Short one right now.
Short one, okay. Speak to me about the conditions there, if you will. Everything's, what was it? We just had to put in a new generator?
The generator was replaced several months ago. After they tried to repair it, it's quite wrong. It was 40-some years old.
That building is, how old is that building? 60 years old or older? I have it in my notes here someplace, but it was built in 1920. And the gymnasium, yeah.
1920 was, after the fire, everything was dated 1920.
Okay, police department is operating in a building that was built in 1920.
Tornado.
And the gymnasium that is currently being used for youth sports programs was built in 1963. I graduated in 63, so I know exactly how old that is. It's old. It's old.
If you have a comment, if you could use the microphone and I'll call you, just raise your hand. Because on the recordings, we won't be able to hear you if you don't use it. Yep. Thank you.
But if the police department is 100 years old, isn't that building now considered protected under historic?
We're not going to tear it down, no.
What are you going to use it for? You're going to sell it. Like you have the other city buildings? And how many of them have actually sold? All of them? And the properties that the city owns? As in foreclosed homes that people didn't pay taxes on.
That's the city of London?
Uh-huh. Or Madison County, excuse me. Does the city own any property besides this?
Yeah, there's multiple pieces of property that we own around the city.
Okay. Are they all up and running? Are they sitting empty?
Yeah, the only thing empty is the school that we traded for with London City Schools. The gym's being used, but the school itself is sitting empty. It's the only thing.
Okay, I thought they were putting a school in there. A college of some sort.
No, that's been, they backed out of that 2 years ago.
Okay. And the elementary building is now gone. Right? The one on 2nd Street?
The old elementary?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was when the school had it. They tore that down.
Okay. So that's where you're going to put the new police department?
We would tear down the current gym and the current gym and the old school and a couple of the other buildings that are on that property. And yes, it would encompass that whole area on 2nd Street and then down Walnut.
Okay.
Okay?
Where's the police department going, on 2nd Street?
2nd Street. Or
Okay.
1st Street. 1st Street. I apologize. 1st Street.
I'm all confused with these streets.
1st Street.
Okay, so they're going on 1st Street.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the community center will go on Walnut.
1st Street, the corner, it'll face 1st Street and be on the corner of 1st and Walnut.
Okay. Then what happens to the little school building back here? Used to be Board of Education or whatever.
It'll be torn down.
Is it? Has that stuff been moved?
Are you talking about who's occupying it?
I know the bus garage is there.
But we are in talks with the school currently about the bus garage and as well as all the tenants in all the buildings here.
Okay. Do they have places to move them all?
We are meeting with them on Monday.
Okay. That's what I want to know, because I have grandkids in the school system now. My kids are grown, my grandkids are in there now. And I have at least one that has ADHD, possibly two. So we need all this stuff centralized. One place preferably.
Need all what stuff centralized?
The offices that are over here. The superintendent office and all that?
No, they're not in there anymore.
With the bus garage?
No, they're not. The only London City schools that are here is the bus garage.
Okay.
That's the only London City schools.
Okay.
Everything else is out at their new compound.
Okay. Just curious because they bus my kid to Madison Plains. My grandson is bused to Madison Plains. And he gets on the van every morning and rides to Madison Plains, which isn't far. And I have no issue with that. I'm just concerned with making sure that everything that London needs is kosher. And like I said, I'd like to see an itemized thing of what it costs to replace versus what it costs to repair.
But that's apples and oranges. You're talking about fixing up a 100-year-old building that only has one gym and no multi-purpose rooms compared to building a place that has 2 gyms and 3 to 4 multi-purpose rooms. So it's apples and oranges. I don't understand what you would want us to do with the old school. You're asking for a comparison of 2 totally different things. You're asking for a comparison of fixing up 100.
The police department building.
Okay.
And
you can't expand there.
You can't expand the police department building?
No.
Okay. I thought there were doors between each of those offices.
We don't own that. We just talked about that when we vacated those properties. We sold them, and it was all closed up in between those buildings. So we only have the police department.
Okay. Then my other question was, why was the armory sold?
That was a decision done. How long has that been, Henry?
8 years.
Yeah, 8-10 years ago.
Yeah, it sat empty for a really long time.
Yeah,
it was not used at all. I
think we didn't bother to look at that before it was sold? I mean, you guys, this is planning down the road that we're doing. And before you sold the armory, that would have been planning down the road.
You're talking about a building that has, I mean, it has nice space, but the gym is not a full court gym. You cannot run the basketball league that we run right now in that gym. There's no possible way. No possible way. There's not big multi-purpose rooms in there like what we're looking to do. So once again, you're comparing apples and oranges.
Okay.
There's
multi-purpose rooms.
Yes.
What are they going to be used for?
There was a list of many different things that we're kind of getting off. Do you want me to keep answering? This is turning into a town hall now.
Yeah,
I mean,
we just want to,
Joanne,
you
come in and talk to me.
Cognizant of every, and definitely, you have a lot of good points, but it would be really good for you too to bring those to the town hall, because then you'll have an extended amount of time to bring questions and get answers, and hopefully have even more people there too that can, come up with questions and answers too along with yours.
Okay.
But I do appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
See people tomorrow.
Mr. Norman? Yes.
It's going to be really quick.
Okay.
I have a question. We're talking about infrastructure, and it doesn't have anything to do with this ordinance really. But my question is it feasible to have a feasibility study done on our infrastructure? Have we done that? Is that something we can do? That way we can know what the problem is, where it is, and get some kind of, just like this feasibility tells us, this is what it's going to cost to build this building, yada, yada, yada. Is that something we can do? And unlike there's a lot of people here that are making it we either do this or we either do that. I'm of the mind that you are my leaders, You are my city representatives. I see other cities who have community centers. I see other cities who have police departments. I see other cities who have infrastructure that there is no problems. I'm not accepting one or the other. I want you to get on the ball and get both of them done. And you should be able to do that. Other cities do it. Why can't we? You know, find out what the problem is and let's start fixing it. Instead of, you know, we got this battle going on between community center, no community center. No, we need both. Both need to be done, and you guys, unfortunately, right now, it landed in your lap because it's been left for you guys to take over. So we got smart guys up here. All you guys are smart. I mean, administration, it's amazing what they do sometimes. But that's my thing. I would ask, is there a way we can have a feasibility study done on the infrastructure?
All right. Now, we've had some studies done on the properties in the city with is it Heritage Ohio? They've done a study through the downtown revitalization district. Did they do a study through them? And that's just for buildings, though, not for infrastructure or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And I know we talked to Bill Long mentioned mapping underground, wanting a camera. We don't have cameras, you know, and you're bringing up some really good points. That's why I like to have you here. And it would make sense to have a really nice community center, really nice police department, and really great infrastructure, because I feel too, you know, London is worth that. You know, we have a lot of hardworking citizens here, and it is in lots of other cities, so why wouldn't it be in ours? You know, we are worth having, you know, clean water and facilities that are very presentable. So I agree there.
Mr. President?
Yes.
If I may, the first Public Service Committee meeting I went to, we had a discussion about the cameras and the process to do that. And at our first council meeting, I said that I would like to see that happen down the road. And, you know, there hasn't been enough time for anything to happen at that point. There is a public service meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I hope that it comes up again tomorrow, and I hope that we start to put a plan together to try to do that. I do know that Bill had mentioned that West Jeff has a camera that they've used before. I actually talked to someone in West Jeff a couple weeks ago. The problem may be that I think when they bring the camera, they also bring one of their employees. And it would be a big project to send one of their employees here for that length of time. But all of that's only been in discussion, and nothing's been able to move forward since that point. But I hope it does.
Okay. Chief, did you have something to add? I saw you raise your hand.
No, I was just going to mention that we get back to the council part of it, and all those questions and things will be discussed in detail at a town hall meeting if this doesn't go through.
Okay. We have one more hand here. And if you would come to the microphone so we can hear you. Thank you.
Hi. Stephen Miller, 227, or 225 Jenkinson. Pretty sure, I don't know. Anyway, I told the tax man 227. So first of all, when is the first town, if this passes, when is the first town hall meeting going to be?
March.
I don't know if that's been discussed.
You got that, Pat, or?
I got it right here. So we came up with the dates of March 8th, March 22nd, April 12th, and April 26th. They're all Tuesdays, and they'd all be at 6 p.m., kind of spread them out. So if somebody comes with some very interesting questions, it wouldn't be, hey, we're having one tomorrow, we could get the answers. We also have a possibility in doing one in late February, but we want to make sure that we have everything lined up. So when we have these, hopefully whatever questions come, we'll have answers for them.
All right. I believe Mr. Castle said that we're going to sell the current police station. Is that true?
Correct.
Correct. And do we know how much money we're supposed to get from that? Because that could be added. I mean, that's obviously profit that will be added back into the
correct?
Yeah, it would have to go out to a sealed bid is how we would do that. And pretty much the highest bidder, so it could be anywhere, you know, 50,000 to 250,000. I mean, it just depends who wants it and how bad they want it.
I assume that the loan's gonna be paid out of the general fund, and that money would just go back into the general fund, so it'd just be.
The loan?
Yeah.
No,
There'll be a fund set up.
There'll be a special
He's
fund.
asking about the sale of the building. It would go back into the general fund, yeah, but it could be earmarked by council to do whatever. You know, I just don't think it's gonna be an astronomical amount of money for an old building like that, but.
Okay. And I had another question, but I forgot it, so I'll let you guys go with that. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, was there another question? I thought I saw another hand in here. Okay, on to Mr. Hayes.
Okay. Okay, does any of my fellow councilmen have any questions at this time?
I don't have any questions. A couple of things I would say is that, you know, as a city, I don't think until you really go to, you know, some of these meetings, or you go to, like, you know, the Parks and Recreation Department or the police station or fire department, I think London's very blessed with the leadership that we have. You know, I'm very grateful that we have Chief Eads, we have Chief Nickel. I think with their experience, if, you know, hopefully, I'm sure they know this, hopefully I'm not bringing an idea to them, but I'm pretty sure they could all leave and go work somewhere else and make a substantial more amount of money. I definitely believe that with Tammy. Tammy runs the Parks and Rec Department just phenomenally. When we went through, you know, COVID-19 began, the effort and work that was put into making sure that kids were still able to participate in programs was just phenomenal. And then, but as a city, we consistently ask, you know, all of these leaders to run these departments to the best of their ability, but we don't really equip them with everything they need. And so I know that sometimes there are shortfallings and difficulties in the Parks and Recreation Department. One thing I'd like to add is, you know, I've gotten involved into a mentoring program, mentoring young men, and, you know, right now I can say that, you know, none of these young men have any positive role models in their life whatsoever. None of them have dads at home. None of them, you know, just nothing. And so when Tammy had asked council, and you know, I think I've said this before, council president and I, we volunteered and helped out over there, and I saw the number of kids that were playing basketball. I mean, I could not believe how many people were coming in and out of our building. And I think it's great that that all of those kids have those positive mentors and role models in their life. I think that you know, asking these people to run these departments, you know, is just what we've consistently done. And the infrastructure, you know, being on the BPU department, we're definitely looking into everything that we can do. One of the biggest cost issues you have, let's say we did want to just completely redo our infrastructure with the sewer, the astronomical cost, because not only are we going to, do we have to fix our current issues, we have to think 5 and 10 years down the road. And right now, I'm telling you, it would just be an astronomical number to do that. I think the BPU department, they've been working, the street departments, you know, with the sewer and things like that. We are able to fix some issues that can improve things. I live on Olive Street. I'm right by Sherman. Every time there's a hard rain, I see Sherman. I see kids swimming, you know, down the street. And I've definitely had the flooding issues, and I've had to deal with that and make those repairs and deal with that frustration. So I definitely understand what everybody's saying. And that, you know, is definitely being worked on as quickly as we can. But I think that I won't go into the other part, but I think it's important, you know, to let people decide. If it was strictly up to me and my usage of the buildings, you know, I would want to vote no. My kids are 12 and 14, and for some reason, I don't know, they just have zero interest in sports and things like that. So my family, we use the community center zero. We never use it. We don't get any benefits from it. I don't think we're going to get any benefits from it in the future. But I think for that, it's important as us as citizens to think about, how it affects our whole city. Having a good police department, making sure our fire and EMS is where it needs to be. I commend the administration for what they did with fire and EMS. They told everyone, I can't tell you how many meetings I sat in, and everybody said that we were going to be bankrupt within 6 months to a year. The administration told council that we would have 3 years we could run without any levies, and they've absolutely kept their promises on that budget. I think that's great on them. I don't want to definitely do not want to drudge up any of the past, but it was not only saving money, but it was also issues in those departments. I'm excited that actually my mind just went blank. Who's the new chief of the EMS? Bennington. Thank you. And yes, I do know him. I just lost his name right before I said it. He's a phenomenal guy. I think he does a great job. Honestly, I wish that back then we were looking at all that, we could have been dealing with him, and I'm sure I believe we would have had we would have went different routes, but we had to work with what we got. So, but that's all I have. I'll stop.
Fair. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Eads.
Thank you. Although I intend to vote no for the ordinance tonight, it's because I feel that it may not solve the biggest issue, which is the fire department. With the amendment that has changed this ordinance from its original intent, so that no more than 0.25% would go to the fire department, it actually, Rex has commented that it would actually pay the debt service first, and only what is left after that would go to the fire department. So I don't know if it fixes that problem. I also feel it's been rushed, and it would have served the residents of London better to have this follow the normal timeline of normal council meetings, 3 meetings over that period of time. But I'd also like to give some credit where it's due. And in the Finance Committee meeting where this first came up, the mayor and the Safety Service Director both pointed out that it was going to take special meetings for this to get put on the ballot. I would like to thank the city council members for making sure that there were 3 readings and giving everyone here that chance to speak to council before they voted. I also would like to thank Amy Reese as the website administrator for posting this meeting and the information on the community news section of the city website so that more people could find it easily on our city website, which is not always easy to navigate. Mayor Closser has shared his intent to have a series of town hall meetings. I hope those are posted on the community news section of the website also, just so more people can find out about it. And I totally agree with everybody here that it's going to be in your hands to vote on this after tonight, and I hope you all make the right choice. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, Mr. Hayes.
Make a motion, we vote for it.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
All right.
Second.
Second. All right, we have a motion to adopt and a second. Clerk, please take the roll call for adoption.
Peters?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hitt?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Eads?
No.
Okay, 11022 has been adopted. On to resolution 11122, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All right, clerk, please read the resolution.
Resolution 11122, sponsored by Rich Hayes, a resolution to place the issue of increasing the municipal income tax by 0.5% per annum for a continuing period of time as provided in ordinance number 11022 on the ballot at the election to be held on May 3rd, 2022, and directing the Board of Elections of Madison County, Ohio, to conduct such election and declaring an emergency.
Yes, and I have something that I need to read here. There have been some questions regarding the formatting of Resolution 11122. The emergency clause is slightly different from the resolutions that are normally drafted by our law office. This resolution was drafted and provided by the bond company and was reviewed by our law director. The language of the resolution included the emergency clause in the subject. However, I would like to amend the resolution to add additional language for the emergency clause in Section 7 to make sure that the emergency language is clear and consistent with typical emergency legislation. I would like to move to amend Resolution 111-22 to adopt Section 7.
Mr. Hayes, I brought that up to the law director, and I second your motion.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we have a first and a second to amend 111-22. Clerk, could you please take the roll call for amendment?
Robinson?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hitt?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Eads?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
111-22 is amended.
This basically puts this on the ballot for you people to vote on, yes or no. And it will be on the May 3rd ballot in 2022. You'll have 4 or 5 meetings to go to get plenty of information to help you to either vote for or vote against. I will not tell you how to vote, but I will say this. We definitely are a moving city. We're starting to build here. We're starting to get more people in. More construction is going to be going on. It's just starting to boom. And from what we had 4 or 5 years ago, I think first year I was on council, we had like 10 housing starts or something like that. How many we projecting this year?
Well, I think when I took over as mayor, there was probably 5. We went from 1, I think 1 or 2. I'd have to go back and look in 2015, and then we started going. And from 2020 to 2021, through the pandemic and the hike in wood costs, we almost doubled our dwelling permits. So 2021 was 41 dwellings were built. And I know there was talk about realty in this town or whatever. I looked it up today. There are 8 houses for sale in London, Ohio currently, and half of them have been up for like 160 days. So they, that means, but the other ones are under 2 weeks. So houses go fast here. And like I said, we've doubled our dwelling permits from 2020 to 2021. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do it again in 2022.
In our first grade and our kindergarten, it's got the most kids it's ever had in the history of school, correct? Yeah. So coming 3-4 years from now, plus what's coming in, okay. So we're starting to build, we're starting to move. We need to keep up, and I take into that we'll have to keep up with sewer and water, things like that also. Police department down there, I used to be a police officer, and when I started, I was in a building about the size of this desk over here. One door in, one door out. And we had a garage that we shared. We put the cruiser in, and we shared it with street department. And you talk about Mayberry. It was crazy. And then we had a 70 cruiser, and we had a 64 cruiser, stick shift. Had one of the first revolving red lights that they ever made. Had one of the first electronic sirens, sound like something from outer space. But a lot of times I had to drive that stick shift, and which I didn't mind. I was doing my job. I loved it. But ladies and gentlemen, we need a new police department here bad. This building down here is in terrible shape. It's dilapidated. What they need with the new stuff that's coming out now, the new electronics and all this, there's no way we can get that into that building. That building couldn't take it. Even if we cleared out that building, they still wouldn't have the room. They need so much. And this building will take care of that. This building will be made in such a way that the more officers we hire, we don't have to add on to it. It'll already be there. Everything will be in place. Same thing with the community center. Won't have to add on to it. Everything will be there. So it's actually an investment in the future for your kids, your grandkids' grandkids. So I want you to think about that and give us some time and work with us. We love you all coming in. We really do. But work with us and let us take these things one at a time, and we'll do you a good job, I promise you. Okay?
All right. Anything else? All right. What are your wishes there? It's amended.
I make a motion to bypass the 3 reading rule.
No, this is the third reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I'm sorry. Lost my train of thought. I make a motion to go ahead and vote on 11122 as is amended.
Second.
All right. First and second. Clerk, please take the roll call for adoption.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hitt?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Eads?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Okay, so the community will have a chance to voice their opinion through their vote at the ballot, whether they are in support of 11122, 11022 at the ballot in May. What's that date again?
May 3rd is the election.
May 3rd is the election. And then we have, 5 town hall meetings scheduled? We have 4 and possible 5. Okay.
I know Greg asked about them being on the website and stuff. We want to see how tonight's meeting went before we put anything out. But Amy and I will work on that, and we'll make up a nice flyer, and we'll start getting it on social media, get it out to the newspaper, and then put it on the website too. So just give us a couple days on that, and we'll get her up.
And as Mr. Norman said, this with this vote here, this puts the power in the hands of the people where it should be. The power should be with the people, not with the government. Thank you.
Mr. President, before you adjourn, I have a question. I don't know how this works, so I'm going to ask now with the possibility of Snowmageddon coming in. I don't know if we have meetings, if it's level 1, level 2, level 3, or if that doesn't matter. I'm just asking because I don't know, because there is one piece of legislation I know that we have to talk about again on a regular meeting on Thursday.
As far as I know, we have we won't have one if it's a level 3.
Okay.
What's that?
Nobody's allowed to go out on
Right, if level 3, yeah.
I have a Ford if anybody needs a ride. I'll just throw that out there.
A Ford.
You think we want to push that all the way here?
Speaking of old infrastructure.
So if we have a level 2, we will have a meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Mr. President, if I
Yes.
could, just real quick, I know some people had asked some questions about the water, and I'll talk about this Thursday. So I did meet with TJ today. We are having an issue with, we have a huge water softener tank. Right now, they believe that a bearing or the motor is out. We have a specialist that is going to come in and look at that. Why we have a specialist, if you saw the size of this, to put it in perspective, the bearing is 4 feet in diameter. And so, but they are, definitely working on the issue with the tank stopping. That caused, obviously, ice issues, draining it caused ice issues. So they had to remove about 6 inches of ice. And the last conversation we had, we were hoping that that gentleman would be out tomorrow so that we could get it figured out and get the parts ordered. So that is some of the issue that we're having with water right now. The water is safe to drink. The last tank, I did look at, why don't we have 2 tanks? This tank, the bearing and everything has been in there for over 20 years. So I don't know if that is something they're going to look into, but I just thought I would answer that. But it is safe to drink. Hopefully we'll have it fixed very quickly. I'm sure it is going to take some time. We're going to have to get a crane You know, 4-foot diameter bearing is quite large and not easy to operate. So, thank you.
Councilman Smith?
Yes, sir.
And the administration, would either one of you like to address the phone calls and emails people got today that's put a lot of people in a panic?
Yes. So I did see that on Facebook, and if I wouldn't have read all the comments, I wouldn't have understood what you were talking about. But I know you're talking about. So the city, we have a lot of issues with delinquent payments, and the city, I think, has been probably far further gracious than they ever should have been in the BPU department. If you do not have a delinquent payment, there is nothing to be concerned about. And I mean, we're not talking one or two. We've got folks going super way over. We got one case that'll be coming to council. He doesn't even use our water; he uses our sewer only, and owes about almost $1,000 in sewer only. So, but yeah, if you do not have a delinquent payment, then you can completely disregard that message.
The good news, if you guys didn't get it, be thankful, because so many people were upset that there was phone calls, text messages, and emails to people saying that we're starting to shut off delinquent accounts tomorrow, which just made you think my account must be delinquent. Right? I had to go make sure I paid my bill because I didn't know why I got it. However, what it does, the good news is that system that they've put in place to do that, even though it misfired today, it works. Yeah, and if there is truly a problem, I think just testing the system was probably worth the aggravation they're going to have to put up with tomorrow with lines out the door trying to deal with this.
Yeah.
All right. Anything further?
I just want to say one thing.
Yes, you can.
So I totally agree, and I appreciate the text message. I will say that, like, the response back, like, on the Facebook page and on the text back, is kind of condescending. And so, like, somebody like me who I did pay my bill a couple days late, I'm thinking, holy crap, did it not go through? I think, like, the terminology could have been just like, hey, this was a mistake, sorry, this only should have went to the delinquent account, sorry to cause any panic. I just think, like, the capital letters and the Facebook posts and things like that, it just comes off bad. So maybe, like, rewording responses, you know, to be a little bit softer to the public might have helped a little bit in that situation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Nothing further. A motion to adjourn?
I so move.
So moved.
I'm glad to hear softer. Next to your anything shows up fuzzy.